morning. Good morning and welcome to Silver Creek High School. I'm Eric Finessa, a service principal here at Silver Creek, and I'm joined by my co-facilitator, Linda.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
We're going to try that once more. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. All right, now we're good. Okay, so as we begin today, I want to just give a couple of thank yous. We have several students that are supporting our event today, and we have many more thank yous to give later in the program, but this doesn't happen without the support of our Silver Creek Leadership Academy and the many students behind the scenes who are making this event run. That being said, I'd also like to especially thank Carrie Adams, our Silver Creek Leadership Academy coordinator, for her enduring support of many of our programs. And it's my pleasure to welcome you today as we celebrate the life, the legacy, and honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And with that, we'd like to welcome the Colorado Heritage Community Choir for our opening song. Won't you please join us? The opening song is Lift Every Voice and Sing. And this is commonly known as the Negro National Anthem. It's customary in this event that we stand, and I would invite all of you to stand. If you'd also like to participate, the lyrics to Lift Every Voice and Sing are readily accessible on any device that you have. You can search that right quickly. We'll give you a moment to do so. And if not, humming along, clapping, is all. Join in, please.
Reverend Emily Hagan, pastor of First United Methodist Church, Lafayette, and Louisville United Methodist Church, 2 churches. She graduated from St. Paul's School of Theology in 2004 with a Master of Divinity degree. Emily was ordained an elder in the Rocky Mountain Conference of the United Methodist Church in 2007. She has served as solo pastor in Rye, Colorado, associate pastor in Canyon City, Colorado, pastor in Berthoud, Colorado, and now serves as a pastor of the First United Methodist Church of Lafayette. Pastor Emily enjoys preaching scriptural, challenging sermons, which stay with people throughout the week. She also enjoys visiting from house to house. She appreciates Wesleyan heritage and has been teaching Wesleyan history and Wesleyan distinctives at local pastor licensing school for the past 2 years. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, Pastor Emily Hagan.
Please pray with me. Holy and loving God, we thank you for this day to honor Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King, Jr. We thank you for his life and his legacy. We ask that you will bless us this day. Help us to hear something new that will inspire us to action. We thank you for the hope that is at the center of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s message, but at his life as well. We ask that you will bless us to carry on that hope so that people who have had their land stolen from them will understand that they are loved. For people who have been stolen from their lands will know they are loved. Help us to act in ways that brings compassion into life, not just now, but for the future, so that we might carry on the legacy that is ours to follow today because of all your servant and your son, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. did for all of us. May we see a bright future that is all of us together, so that we might become the beloved community you have set in motion. In Christ's name I pray, amen.
Thank you. It's a pleasure of mine to welcome at this time the mayor of Longmont, Joan Peck. Ms. Peck serves as council liaison to the City of Longmont boards, including the Asset Forfeiture Committee, Old Hire Fire, and Old Hire Police Pension Boards. She represents the City of Longmont by serving on the following regional boards: Denver Regional Council of Governments, the Longmont Economic Development Partnership, Longmont Multicultural Action Committee. She serves on the Metro Mayor's Caucus, the North 287 Coalition, the North Area Transportation Alliance Steering Committee, the Platte River Power Authority, the Northwest Mayors and Commissioners Coalition. I'd like to welcome Mayor Joan Peck, Mayor of Longmont. I'd also like to invite to the stage at this time Ms. Madeline Woodley and also Mr. Lance Oshiko.
Hello and welcome. I was just asking Glenda if we have one of the documents that we were going to read today. So I want to thank everyone here for coming, and it's an honor for me to be here representing the city. I also want to say I'm very proud of our city council, because the first time in my memory we have a council that is diverse, with Shakita Yarrow and Susie Hidalgo-Faring. And because of that, we have embraced our diverse community stronger than I feel that we have ever before in my memory. So we are, in this audience, are the people who keep Martin Luther King's vision alive, his dream. But we're in a time that I feel that we need to even work harder, because the diversity in our population and the hatred that seems to be brewing basically scares me. So I'm glad to be here, that we remember what Martin Luther King Jr. was all about, and that we continue, as you do every day in your life, to act upon what he has brought to us. So I would like to, oh, I think we found it. Maybe. So at Tuesday night's council meeting, we had a proclamation recognizing and proclaiming Martin Luther King Day, and we presented it to Lynch Oshiko and to Madeline Robinson. And I'm very proud that every year we do that as a city. We proclaim Martin Luther King. We remember, we cannot forget what he was always about, and we have to live it every day. So I would like to, okay, I'd like to turn this over to Madeline Robinson.
Good morning, everyone. It's so good to have you here and to be here on this momentous occasion. And I just want to tell you a little bit about this gentleman, this giant of a man that we have been blessed to have our paths crossed in this lifetime. Lance Hoshiko is an executive with Lexmark. And let me just tell you, there are executives and then there are leaders. And there are those that encompass both. And so this giant of a man that I really, really respect and have come to know and love has done things and volunteered in ways that you just would not even believe. Let's go back a bit. He started working with the MLK organization in providing printing, and as you well know, printing can be very expensive. He has done it for, I know, of at least a good 9 years that I can recall, where he provided the covers for the nonprofits to just keep their materials together. Very beautiful, very laid out, very colorful, very expensive, and yet he did it every time, every year, as an in-kind contribution. Then, to go with that, he would have their executive chef come in early and prepare these wonderful pastries that his peers would come and serve us at the close of each production, each program, which was another amazing act. Then, just as the Boulder branch came together, grew, and we decided we were going to be doing the celebrations, we did, in addition to Martin Luther King celebration, the Black History celebration, which includes an annual Freedom Fund event that is a part of the national NAACP organization's plan. And for that, last year was February 2022 was our very first. We produced a keepsake brochure. We wanted something of quality that anyone receiving it, particularly our era, would want it honored as a keepsake that could be served almost as an heirloom for generations to come. This particular brochure was called Walk With Me, which was our theme of February 2022. The brochure contained 40 pages, 40 very beautiful, colorful pages, and he produced over 2,000. Again, in kind, he and his staff. Came Juneteenth. And with Juneteenth, it was our second inaugural production, and we needed another brochure produced, and he did that as well, over 600 copies. So we have two momentous pieces of material that can serve as heirlooms for generations to come, as a result of Mr. Hoshiko and the Lexmark team. And I say you deserve a standing ovation. Thank you so much. And with that, thank you so much for the support and the love that you're showing. And with that, I'm going to pass it to my sister, Glenda Strong Robinson. And
I'm just going to add, thank you, Madeline. I'm just going to add, I produced this beautiful plaque for Lance. And he said, well, no, I don't want anything in my name necessarily. My whole team, the Lexmark team, he's the manager, volunteers their time each year and help with all the serving and what you see out there. So I would really like for them to be included as well. So it reads, the Boulder County 2023 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Planning Committee presents the Community Service Excellence Award to Mr. Lance Hoshiko and the Lexmark International Inc. Photo Conductor and Manufacturing Automation System Engineering Team. That's a mouthful. For your many years of service excellence to the annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. celebrations of Boulder County, presented to you by Mr. Glenda Strong.
Well, I wasn't really expecting this, but thank you again, Mayor Pat. Thank you, Madeline, and thank you, Minister Barbara Robinson. I would like to take a moment and commend Lexmark International for its commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I would also like to thank the many volunteers at Lexmark without whom we couldn't really make this happen. So, thank you very much.
It's a pleasure at this time to welcome both Carmen Ramirez and also Glenda Robinson. And these two pillars within our community, let me share just a little bit about both. Ms. Ramirez has graduated from Colorado State Global Campus with a degree in public management. She serves as the manager of community and neighborhood resources, having previously served as program coordinator for the community and neighborhood resources. She's led and assists in additional programming such as Boulder County's Multicultural Young Professionals Committee. She's one of the founding members of the Longmont Multicultural Action Committee, and Ms. Ramirez also serves as a liaison to many members within our community, helping to create an inclusive environment and promote opportunities for all members within our community educationally, economically, and socially. Joining her, Glenda Robinson, our co-facilitator today. She's received the Longmont Mayor's Positive Impact Award. She's been recognized by the City of Longmont and also by Silver Creek High School's Leadership Academy, honoring her for her service to the community and to our children. The Mayor and City Council of the City of Longmont issued a proclamation honoring Mrs. Robinson as the founder of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. festivities and week-long celebration that acknowledges her work and commitment to maintaining the legacy of Dr. King. She serves as an executive committee member and historian of the NAACP Boulder County branch. Recently, Glenda was recognized this past week by the Colorado Commission on Celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and received a Lifetime Achievement Award for her work and involvement in social justice, promoting ideals of inclusivity, celebrating Dr. King's messages and for her preservation of history in accordance with educating others upon Dr. King's vision and legacy. And to further her legacy, Linda's featured at the Smithsonian African American Museum in Washington, D.C. in a photo that depicts her supporting the sanitation workers' strike and march in Memphis, Tennessee. These are both lifelong advocates and heroes for social and racial justice. They are heroes and champions for economic equality and champions for education. And we welcome both Glenda and Carmen.
Thank you, Eric. I know y'all that know me ain't gonna believe this, but I'll be very brief. No, I'm a preacher, so can't help it in some instances. However, I want to say, come on up here with me, sister. We go back a long, long way. I met Carmen probably 41, maybe 40 years ago. I've been here 42 years. And our sons were in middle school together at Westview, in the first graduating class over at Westview. And we've walked together since then. And the amazing, phenomenal work that you have done in the city of Longmont is nothing short of amazing. And I'm honored to be your friend. I'm honored to stand with you as you share in this, all that's happening in Longmont. I'm telling you, everything that's happened here, positive for diversity, equity, inclusion, goes right here. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Carmen Ramirez. It's such an honor to be here. More importantly, it's such an honor to see that when we come together to honor Dr. King, we do it through action. As Glenda said, we've known each other for a very long time. Many, many years ago, I first read that our community, in 1980, there was a shooting of 2 young Latino men. And I read that one of the things that was lacking in our community was the acknowledgement and honoring of people of color. So guess what? I called Glenda, and we started with passing the torch. Passing the torch used to come from Denver all the way up to Fort Collins and back for the parade, but it would stop in every community. Our first few sessions, we had a small group of folks that would gather in a circle. And here we are today. Here we are today where we are not only taking action, but educating the next generation. And I think it's important, one other thing to acknowledge about civil rights and Dr. King, is that one of the things that he did was he brought people from all backgrounds together to fight for civil rights for all of us. And I want to read something for you very quickly that I think if Dr. King was here today, he would say yes. He would say yes to acknowledging, yes to visibility, yes to love, and yes to action. The city of Longmont recently, actually in July of 21, adopted a land acknowledgement. And when you hear these words, I want you to think beyond that we're acknowledging just that these are the lands of the Native Americans. We are acknowledging the injustices, but we are acknowledging the action to really move forward. So I'm going to read this very quickly. We acknowledge that Longmont sits on the traditional territory of the Cheyenne, Arapaho, Ute, and other indigenous people. We honor the history and the living and spiritual connection that the first people had with this land. It is our commitment, this is much like Dr. King, to face the injustices that happened when the land was taken, to educate our communities, ourselves, and our children to ensure that these injustices do not happen again. Thank you for being part of making sure injustices do not happen again. Thank you.
Some of you were in the events that were held yesterday throughout Boulder County. I'd like to thank you for that. Events like this don't take place without a significant amount of support from members throughout our community, throughout Boulder County, and also here within the St. Vrain Valley. And it's a pleasure to share some thanks and gratitude for all of our contributing members here. And I'd like to recognize our Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Planning Committee for their steadfast work over the last several months to ensure that events celebrating Dr. King are a reality here in our communities. I'd like to thank the Longmont Multicultural Action Committee, also the City of Longmont, Lexmark, Lance Hashiko and your team, the NAACP of Boulder County, the City of Boulder Human Relations Commission for their support, Silver Creek High School here, Boulder County, St. Vrain Valley Schools for their enduring support of all of our children. A special thank you for hosting our event here today, here at Silver Creek and the Silver Creek Leadership Academy. I'd also like to thank Second Baptist Church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, former Mayor of Longmont, Brian Bagley, the Boulder Arts Commission, the Museum of Boulder at the Tesso Center, and the Boulder Valley School District for their support in bringing children here today. Boulder County Commissioners for their significant support of this event. Without their generous financial contributions, this would not be possible. And also a special thanks to Eric Ozempa and the Longmont Community Foundation. We'd also like to thank and gratefully thank our elected officials that are here today, that are joining us. Several of the Boulder County Commissioners have been in attendance at the programs throughout this weekend. Thank you for being here. I'd like to thank Mayor Joan Peck. Or do we have any city council members in attendance today? Thank you for being here today and for supporting us. I'd also like to thank a very special thank you to Dr. Don Haddad, who serves as superintendent of St. Vrain Valley Schools, for his championing of education and equality. Dr. Richard Martyr, who serves as the secretary of the Board of Education. I saw Jim Berthold, who is also a Board of Education member here today. I'd also like to thank Dr. Dina Perfetti-Dini, who serves as our area assistant superintendent for Silver Creek High School, and also Deputy Assistant Superintendent Dr. Jackie Capuchin for your enduring support of Silver Creek, all of our leadership-based activities and events like this. Now, may I please have anyone who is currently serving as an elected official or who has previously served as an elected official within our communities or at large to stand now so that we can recognize you and give you a round of applause. And at this time, I'd like to reintroduce our Colorado Heritage Community Choir under the direction of Mr. Scott. Members are comprised of choralists from throughout Boulder County area and remain committed to performing and spreading knowledge and support of social justice. Friends, families, once again, our Colorado Heritage Community Choir.
When you think about the Negro spiritual, the work song, the freedom song, these were songs of joy, these were songs of hope, these were songs of inspiration. They were secret communication tools. But these songs have endured, they have lasted the test of time. And we're going to just sing, I hope you guys will join in with us, just real simple. I'm going to lay all my burdens down by the riverside.
In our next segment, we'd like to recognize a living legend and lifetime achievement within our community. And just as Dr. King was an angel to many, who committed his life to bettering others' lives, we have many among us today that have contributed to the betterment of our communities through their selfless sacrifice and through their service to others. There are stories within our community that we must lift up, all of us, as an example to others of how we should live. Just as Dr. King lifted up the issues of civil rights, voting rights, and economic equality, many here today have given selflessly to support others within our community and beyond. Just as Dr. King has shown a way forward, our living legend here today and Lifetime Achievement Award, Mrs. Inez Buggs, has too. It is our pleasure to share with you the story of Mrs. Inez Buggs, her inspiration and support, and the lifeline that she had given to so many and that she's provided throughout her life in our communities here in Boulder County.
Mrs. Inez Davis Buggs, friend of mine, it's my honor to celebrate you as our living legend. And more importantly, just to sit and have a casual chat with you as we look back over your life.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to receive this recognition. I am Clinica's first medical provider. Before 1977, there was a group of community people who were meeting and talking about how to provide local health care. There was a woman, Alice Sanchez, who was out in the trenches, driving people Denver to Boulder to wherever she could get patients seen, because there were a lot of people who did not have insurance. There were some doctors in Lafayette that would see patients who had that type of compassion, but not on a large scale. As far as I can remember, and my memory starts about age 5, I always wanted to fix something on somebody. If it was a toenail or a hangnail, if I had wind about it, I wanted to try and make it better. I think that was placed in me from the spirit. It wasn't something that I was exposed to. We did not have the privilege of having frequent doctor visits and seeing medical people to shadow them. I grew up in East Texas in the era of segregation. In high school, I went out in the hallway for some reason, and there this person walking down the hall, all dressed in white. I was just totally blown away, not knowing that there was a black nurse in the real world. It reinforced my desire that I wanted to be a registered nurse. I'm the youngest of 6 children of Caesar and Sarah Davis. They were sharecroppers when I was younger. And to think how their mobility allowed me to achieve my dream is a hats off to them. So after graduating from high school in Dallas, my mother was already in Boulder, Colorado. She worked as a housekeeper for a wealthy family that moved here from Texas. The wife of this wealthy family asked me if I wanted to go to college, and I said yes. So I enrolled at CU Boulder campus. I didn't do well socially or psychologically because my environment was not integrated. My whole world was African American. So it was very uncomfortable being in a classroom with a white teacher, white classmates, because what I experienced growing up was much negativity. I withdrew because I did not want to flunk out and went to Emily Griffith Opportunity School to become an LPN, licensed practical nurse. I did that, and I kept saying to Wilfred, my husband, you know, I want to be an RN. That has been my dream. And he says, well, if you're gonna do it, go do it and stop talking about it. We had 3 children. I was 34 years old. I enrolled at CU. Wilfred took over basically managing the family, not knowing how to cook. It was quite a challenge, but we managed. They were all born here. And we could still see some prejudice and issues that happened through our children. So we had to teach them who they were and encourage them in spite of.
They all probably attended Boulder High,
Yes,
I
they
presume.
did.
I remember that Sarah was voted the homecoming queen.
Right, the first African American
Right.
in the late 70s. As a student of the School of Nursing, I noticed a bulletin board at the Public Health Department in Boulder, and it had a note saying the community of Lafayette wanted to start a health clinic providing care to the underserved population. No one applied but me. Well, I worked there with 6 people at the beginning, and it grew exponentially over the 30 years from one clinic at 100 Cleveland Avenue, a little house, to now 5 clinics. We created a sliding fee scale. If you don't have income coming in, we still create a way that your issues can be addressed. In 1978, I worked days and went to school at night and got my nurse practitioner certification. It allowed me to be that intermediary provider where I could migrate that person into a higher level of care to a physician or consult with another nurse practitioner or a PA. So the volume of patients that I was able to provide was instrumental. It was not a job, it was just what I did. I don't think I had a day that I didn't want to go to work. And it was a lot going on in the exam rooms, not only medical talk. It was the time to listen to their stories, be a friend. I attended funerals, quinceañeras. I felt more like I was a part of the inner circle of the community rather than an outsider. Before I retired from there, I had taken care of 3 generations of families. If I had not opened up and was willing to initiate conversation or interactions, I would have been one of those closed-minded people that all people are like what I experienced when I was growing up. And I have some very wonderful people in my life. God used me as the vessel over the last 30 years of work at Clinica. If you have a dream, pursue it. If you settle, then that's what you're gonna get.
I want to say, Inez, congratulations and thank you for all of the many contributions that you've made to our beloved community. So proud of you. Congratulations and God bless you.
Thank you. I would just like to share very few things. It won't take me long, but in the exam rooms, it became a prayer room. It became a healing room. And some things was just right down funny. I walked in my exam room this particular day, and this little 5-year-old precious little white boy, who I had been taking care of since he was born. But this particular day, I walked in and he says, "Inez, you have weird hands." And I said, "Well, if you think that's weird, you wait till I pull my shoes and socks out." We had a time at that moment with he and his mother to talk about skin differences. And I thought that was pretty precious because I was able to compare his hands with his mother's hands and show the differences in the skin tones, but we all had the same ability to do with our hands. And then I was doing this football physical time, and a snake came for a visit. Ended up in the exam room where I was working. I jumped up on the table. I was there to do a football physical, on this little fellow, he probably 9. And the snake ran up into a pulmonary function test tube. So he self-contained himself, but I was on the table. And I said to the patient, I said, "I don't think you're going to get a football physical today because I'm not going to get off the table." So he took charge, got off the table, picked up the instrument, and released the snake outside. And then I had an adult white man who had come to the clinic. I was the only one there. But when he saw me, he was seeking help for his overdose wife. And he said to me, "I don't want," and used the N-word, "to take care of, put your hands on my wife." Well, I turned around and looked behind me because I thought he must have been talking to the person that was behind me, because I was the only one in the room that was different than he. So I said to him, I said, "Oh, well, I can tell you where you can go to the urgent care center on South Boulder Road." But that's not where I wanted to tell him to go. But that's what I chose to do. So I did help him, unbeknown to him. I called the facility and told them that I had referred a patient and to be watching out for them because his wife was in trouble. So it's been my belief that whatever journey you're on in life, that you don't get there on your own by yourself. I think that people come alongside to help us. And I just wanted to acknowledge the people who helped me along my journey, my beloved husband, Wilfred. We've been married, I think 63 coming years. And I'm 84, if any of you wondered. And I want to acknowledge my children, Rashina, Troy, and Sarah. And at their tender age, when I started college around 36 years of age. I graduated age 40, and then I worked for the years spent at Clinica. And I'd just like to acknowledge some of the people who helped me along my way. Alice Sanchez, Pauline Romano, Joanne Savarese, Lafayette Police, who would come and wait outside if I had to go to the clinic to see a patient at night, so that I had a measure of protection. Patty Matterson, Eleanor Montour, Pete Garcia, the Honorable Senator Tim Worth from Colorado, Emma Garcia, Pete Liebig and Simon Smith, Dr. Carolyn Shepard, Dr. Howard Wolf, Dr. William Salter, and Paul Mackel, and the migrant workers who, when we went out to the migrant camps, were so gracious to cook food for us to eat before we left to go home for the evening. And my Clinica family over the years. Thank you so much. And I leave this quote for you. Somewhere along the way, we must learn there is nothing greater than to do something for others. Thank you.
I'm an historian, and so I can't miss this Black History moment. They've been married for how long? 63 years. Wilford, we have an exhibit coming up on September 29, 2023 at the Museum of Boulder, and I know Lori, the executive director, is here. And we will be honoring those unsung heroes. Wilford was the first African-American Boulder police officer in 1966. And you were the first medical provider at Clinica. We've been changing some stuff around here, you guys. And it's gone unnoticed, and it will not in the future. If as long as I'm alive, I'm telling the story. Thank you all for your service. I appreciate you. I appreciate your friendship. We gave Mrs. Buggs a plaque, just as we did Mr. Hoshiko yesterday, and it reads, the Boulder County 2023 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Planning Committee presents the Lifetime Achievement Award to Mrs. Inez Davis Buggs as a trailblazer and living legend who has dedicated her life to making and preserving history, by Minister Glenda Strong Robinson, chair and founder of the Boulder County Martin Luther King Jr. Planning Committee. Thank you again. That's what 84 looks like.
It's a pleasure at this time to welcome our guest, Professor Nyarma Soa. Professor Soa currently serves as an associate teaching professor and co-director of graduate studies in dance at the University of Colorado, Boulder. After graduating from the University of Ghana School of Performing Arts, his career has taken him throughout the world, where he has conducted residencies and taught master classes from California to Boston, from Johannesburg to Tanzania, and from Ethiopia to here, home for the last 25 years in Colorado. Professor Soa believes that dance is a fundamental human right and facilitates his experiences to make dance available for everyone. Would you please welcome and join in this next segment with Professor Soa.
Whoa, I have lights on me. I used to be a dancer, but I quit. Because a dancer is somebody who dances on behalf of others. I realized early in my life that dance is medicine. When Mrs. Inez told her story about the patient coming in and calling her the N-word, I felt a punch. In our lives every day, we feel punches. Yeah? A lot of things gives us punches. And our bodies are repositories of these punches. And we hold them. Sometimes, when we feel strong emotions, we move. And often our movements are accompanied by sound. So when you are angry, you move and you scream. When you are sad, you move and you make sound. When you're happy, every emotion. Yeah? I am from Africa, I'm from Ghana, and dance is intertwined throughout our lives. Yeah? We dance when we are happy, we dance when we are sad, we dance when we worship, we dance when we play. But our dances are intertwined with dramatic expression and song and sound. Yeah? So today, I am not going to dance for you. We are going to dance together because I believe you have some jabs you're carrying. Yeah? Are you with me? Yeah? Yes. We say if you can walk, you can dance. If you can talk, you can sing. So please rise up and join me. I like to give people reason to dance. Not just moving, but actually, why are you dancing? Yeah? Excellent. So we're going to create the sound score quickly. The sound we're going to dance to. Yeah? I like it, make it accessible. So I'm going to do something we did as kids. Yeah? I say tubo tubo, and you respond tubo. Ready? Ready? Tubo tubo. Tubo. Okay, now how much of you is saying tubo? Yeah? How much of your being is saying tuba? When I say this, tuba tuba, then you can say tuba. Then when I say tuba tuba, tuba, tuba tuba, tuba tuba, tuba tuba, that's medicine right there. Yeah? When I say sasa, you say sa. Sasa, sasa, sasa. Perfect. The next one is hard, but I trust you. You make it. The response to the next one is tuma yele yele. Listen again. Tuma yele yele. Fake it. Tuma yele yele. Once more. Tuma yele yele. So my part is sa tuma. Tuma yele yele. Sa tuma. Tuma yele yele. Sa tuma. Tuma yele yele. Are you feeling rhythm? Yeah? Sa tuma. Tuma yele yele. Sa tuma. Tuma yele yele. Satuma, tuma yele yele. The last one is fun. When I say saboko, you say boko bush. Saboko, boko bush. Saboko, boko bush. Oh, saboko, boko bush. Bush, bush, bush. So we have three. Saboko, boko bush. Saboko, boko bush. Oh, saboko, boko bush. Bush, bush, bush. You got it? Tuba, tuba. Okay, please. Please, 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 I see some people waiting for communion. Relax, sit, yeah? I don't have any, yeah? Ready? Shake something. You got stuff in there. They come out. Ready? Tuba, tuba, tuba. Tuba, tuba, tuba. Sa. Yeah. Sa. Sa, sa. Sa, sa. Sa, sa. tuma yele yele. Sa tuma, tuma yele yele. Sa tuma, sa tuma, sa tuma. Saboko, boko, bush. Saboko, oh, saboko, boko, bush, 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 bush. You got it? Excellent. So, we are going to dance to this music. Yeah? So I want you to imagine you are the drums. So when I say, tubo, tubo, you really hit it. Yeah? Yeah? That's your music, right? So here's what we're going to do. I'll give you an example. Tubo, tubo, tubo. This is all I did. I say, if you can move, you can dance. Tubo, 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 sa, 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 tuma, tuma, yele, yele, sa, tuma, sa, boko, boko, bush. You freeze on the bush. Sa, boko, boko, bush. Oh, sa, boko, boko, bush, 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 bush. Sa, boko, boko, bush. Saboko, boko, bush. Oh, saboko, boko, bush, 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 bush. Excellent. I had somebody say, I can't dance. I can't dance. I said, oh, you really cannot dance? So I told them, tubo, tubo. Tubo, tubo. I can't dance. Let's do that dance. Ready? I just want everybody to believe they can dance. So let's use the I can dance body movement for our next dance. Ready? So here's what we're going to do. You're going to do this. With expression and emotion. Ready? Choboy. You say, hey, choboy. Hey, choboy. Hey. So tubo, tubo, I want you to go like this. Turn left or right. And if you see somebody there, yeah? Ready? Ready? Are you ready? Tubo, tubo, tubo. Hold it. Tubo, 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 tubo. Sa, 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 tuma, tuma, yele, yele. Sa, tuma, sa, tuma. Sa, boko, boko, bush. Sa, boko. Oh, saboko, boko, bush, 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 bush. All right, let's do one more. Yes, ready, go. We can do that, right? Ready? Tubo, tubo. Tubo! I couldn't hear you. Tubo, tubo! Tubo, tubo! Sasa! 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 Sa tuma! Tuma yele yele! Sa tuma! Sa tuma! Sa tuma! Saboko! Boko! Bush! Saboko! Oh! Saboko! Boko! Bush! 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 Choboy! Hey! Thank you.
All right, at this time, it's a pleasure to welcome back our Colorado Heritage Community Choir under the direction of Scott Martin. Welcome once again. Thank you, Mr. Allen, and thank you to our Colorado Heritage Community Choir. At this time, it's a pleasure for me to introduce friend and also member of our planning committee, Dr. Thomas Wyndham. Dr. Wyndham has contributed his life work to helping others, and he has promoted education in both social sciences and science throughout his career. He has served as the president of the Boulder Valley School Board. He has chaired the CU Conference on World Affairs. He is a member of the Boulder Dairy Arts Center Selection Committee for the Baedeker Path to Excellence Arts Grants Program, and also the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, Boulder County, where he serves on the executive committee and co-chairs the task force on post-secondary education. In 2022, Dr. Wyndham was recognized by the Martin Luther King Jr. Planning Committee as a Living Legend and Lifetime Achievement Award recipient. And it is our pleasure today to welcome Dr. Wyndham to introduce our keynote speaker.
What's up? That's what I learned in graduate school. What's up? You didn't know what was up. You wasn't there long. What's up is that we're here to celebrate, to commemorate the life and works, contributions of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And no better person to do that is Professor of African American and Caribbean Studies, Professor good Dr. Raylan Rabaka. Dr. Raylan Rabaka has a list of accomplishments that are in the program, which I shall not read because I know you all can. And you will not only read them here, but you can read them at your leisure at home. And after you hear the message that Dr. Rabaka will deliver, you'll say, how did he get there? It's in your program. But what your program doesn't do is bring forth the spirit of Dr. Rabaka, the spirit of a man who believes in community with the understanding that no one can do anything alone, that it takes a village, it takes a community, it takes a particular type of community to do the things that we were put on this planet to do, and that is to embrace and love one another in a true spirit of liberation, in a true spirit of brotherhood, in the true spirit of respect, and the true spirit of recognizing that we are one. We are one. We are members of a community. We need to belong to the community, and to talk about the nature of the community to which we all want to belong to. It's my pleasure to bring to the stage my friend, my brother, the great, you're supposed to get up when I say that. All kidding aside, my friend, Dr. Raylan Rabaka.
Sometimes I don't know who they're talking about, you know. I want to begin by thanking my brother, my friend, mentor, Dr. Thomas Wyndham. I would also like to solicit a little bit of prayer support. I said this yesterday, that these programs are so beautiful. Unlike anything I have experienced in almost 20 years of living in Boulder County. And I feel very full, and I don't want to mess up these nice people's program. You know, it's been so lovely thus far. So anybody that believes in the power of prayer, like I do, I'm soliciting prayer support. Yeah, on Martin Luther King Day 2023. Yeah. So I want to begin by acknowledging, please don't take this out of my time. I want to begin by acknowledging, you know what I mean? Minister Glenda Strong Robinson. And if she will accept this honor, Minister Robinson is my movement mother. I have a mother in the movement. My movement mother. I have to acknowledge the lovely, the incredible president of Boulder County chapter of the NAACP, my beloved sister, friend, President Annette James. I've already shouted out my big brother, Dr. Thomas Wyndham. And then I just want to say another special love letter to Mrs. Inez Buggs. Movement Mother, don't worry, I'm about to get into it now. The title of this one, I came to Longmont to bring some love and light. That's the only reason I'm here. And my movement mother knows that this is the first of 3 that I have to do today, so I have to run out of here in just a minute. To the Dairy Center for the Arts at 2 o'clock, and then tonight I'll close out in Denver, Colorado. But this is called Love, Justice, and Martin Luther King's Dream, Building the Beloved Community in the 21st Century. We all rise and we all fall, and someday we will all have to answer the Master's call. He was a messenger, and he diligently did his duty a messenger helping us to rescue and reclaim our humanity? Can I get a witness to a life lived like a lamb and a lion? Bear witness, if you will, to a soul bound for Zion. When I was a child living in the projects, I used to think that Martin Luther King was the only famous and powerful person who cared about me. During my childhood, I saw all of these pictures and documentaries of him talking to, hugging, and even playing with little loved ones who not only looked like me, but they also lived in abject poverty. To me, Martin Luther King was a superhero. Not because he was faster than a speeding bullet, or more powerful than a locomotive, or able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Nah. He was a superhero to me because he cared about kids nobody cared about, and because he used his voice to turn people's attention to destitute and downtrodden people's children, to their lives and their struggles. I used to think that the kids in the suburbs had Superman and Batman and Spider-Man. But the kids in the projects, poor people's kids, we had Martin Luther King. He was my childhood superhero, and as I transitioned from childhood to adulthood, from the projects to the professorate, he evolved into one of my spiritual, intellectual, and political idols. Martin Luther King's dream developed in the midst of the civil rights movement. Many African Americans had fought and died in the Second World War, and this historical fact made the majority of Southern African Americans increasingly reluctant to resign themselves to their second-class status in American society. Inspired by the struggles against colonialism in Africa, Asia, and Latin America, and by the United States' claim to be the leader of the free world, the Southern black masses rose up against the fear of segregationist violence and economic retaliation, and they let the world know that black America was ready to strike a blow for freedom. First came the Montgomery bus boycott in 1955. It was followed by the sit-ins in 1960, the Freedom Rides in 1961, the Albany Movement in 1961, the Birmingham Campaign in 1963, and the Great March on Washington in 1963, and many other demonstrations throughout the South. The myth of a peaceful South with contented black folk was shattered as African Americans by the thousands proudly protested, militantly marched, faced high-pressure fire hoses and the snarling fangs of police dogs, billy club beatings, jailings, shootings, lynchings, burning crosses, and the Ku Klux Klan. Without a politically awakened black America willing to organize and risk their lives for freedom, there would have been no fertile soil for the development of Dr. King's dream. Perhaps more than any other person, past or present, black or white, Martin Luther King proclaimed and lived the American dream. The idea that all people, regardless of race, class, religion, or nationality, are created equal and are therefore entitled to even-handed justice under the law and social respect under the customs that govern daily behavior. The idea of the American dream dominated King's perspective. When he spoke in theological terms, he referred to it as the beloved community of black folk and white folk living together, working together, praying together, and struggling for freedom together, knowing that no one is free until all are free. He expressed again and again his continuous and deepening belief that black folk and white folk must work together to create a compassionate and democratic society. He believed that each generation has a special contribution to make to American democracy, and that is one of the reasons he was deeply disappointed by the direction the United States took after the March on Washington. Despite all of the attention that has been given to his I Have a Dream speech, it is important for us to acknowledge that the situation in America became so bleak and so bad after the March on Washington that Martin Luther King himself declared that his dream had become a nightmare. For example, in December of 1967, shortly before he was assassinated, Dr. King declared, and this is Dr. King, in 1963 in Washington, D.C., I tried to talk to the nation about a dream I had had, and I must confess that not long after talking about that dream, I started seeing it turn into a nightmare just a few weeks after I had talked about it. It was when 4 beautiful little black girls were murdered in a church in Birmingham, Alabama. I watched that dream turn into a nightmare as I moved through the ghettos of the nation, and I saw black brothers and sisters perishing on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of prosperity. And I saw the nation doing nothing to grapple with black people's problem of poverty. I saw that dream turn into a nightmare as I watched black brothers and sisters in the midst of anger and understandable outrage, in the midst of their hurt, in the midst of their disappointment, turn to misguided riots to try to solve that problem. And I saw that dream turn into a nightmare as I watched the war in Vietnam escalating. Yes, I am personally the victim of a deferred dream of blasted hopes. See, that's the Martin Luther King that you're probably not going to hear about today. The critical optimist. He's still an optimist. He's still hopeful. Hallelujah. He's still hopeful. But we need to be real. You know, the hip-hoppers say, it's time to keep it real. Let's keep it real. The reality of the matter is, we got a long way to go. We got some more work to do. We do. We got some more work to do. We've come a mighty long way. We've come a mighty long way. But we got some more to do. It ain't over. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I like it when it says, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall. Oh, Lord. I don't want to, I'll get carried away, I want to do right by my mother in the movement, you see. But I just feel so full today. This means so much to me, Longmont, Colorado. Taking King's words to heart, it is important for us to challenge those among us who want to celebrate the I Have a Dream speech, but not contribute in any meaningful way to bringing the beautiful words of that speech into being. Martin Luther King left this world deeply disillusioned. He came to the realization that his dream would become a nightmare without justice being coupled with love. There can be no love without justice and respect. During Dr. King's lifetime, there was a lot of talk about racial justice and social change, but then quick condemnation and ostracization when people came together to turn their talk into political activism. He didn't simply talk and deliver speeches. He marched, he protested, he demonstrated, and he sang gospel and freedom songs. He used a variety of political tools and tactics, such as nonviolence, civil disobedience, passive resistance, moral suasion, litigation, economic boycott, grassroots organizing, solicitation of corporate sponsor, thank you, Lexmark, and the oppositional use of the media, especially television, radio, and newspapers. He left us a legacy of more than speeches and sermons. He left us a legacy in both words and deeds. And when we study and learn lessons from both Dr. King's words and deeds, one of the greatest lessons he teaches us, and indeed one of the greatest gifts he gave us, was his concept of the beloved community. I'm going to remix it. You know, I'm hip-hop generation, so we believe in the remix. Is that all right, everybody? I got any hip-hoppers in the house, you know. This is the intergenerational MLK Day celebration. Am I right or wrong, movement mother? Yeah, so I'm going to remix before your very... Woo! I'm going to remix Martin Luther King's dream for you. And we're going to use the beloved community as our point of departure. Is that all right, Longmont, Colorado? Is that all right? Do you feel good? Because I feel good. Boy, I feel like James Brown. I feel so... Da 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 da. Woo! All right. Hey! I believe that one of the best ways we can honor Martin Luther King and keep his legacy alive is by building little beloved communities all over this country and, in fact, all over this world. But first, we need a clear understanding of Dr. King's concept of the beloved community. We also need to guard against the tendency of folks to take Dr. King's concept of the beloved community and co-opt it and turn it into a watered-down buzzword. With this in mind, I believe we should start with a series of simple questions. What is the beloved community? What is its role and goal in transforming society? How do we build the beloved community? Who can we build it with? Is it open to everyone, including white folk? Can people who have previously done wrong repent and be redeemed in the beloved community? Are we willing to give everyone, not just our friends and our families, but everyone, space and grace and room to redeem themselves in the beloved community? Whew. In a 1959 sermon on Gandhi, Dr. King stated, "The aftermath of nonviolence is the creation of the beloved community, so that when the battle is over, a new relationship comes into being between the oppressed and the oppressor." That's Dr. King. I'm keeping it real, you see. That's Dr. King. For Dr. King, the beloved community was an integrated society, an America that was no longer racially segregated. He also believed that along with racism, poverty, and militarism were the greatest impediments to the creation of the beloved community. Building on Dr. King's concept of the beloved community, now that we are living in a desegregated and awkwardly integrated society, racial segregation is no longer the ultimate goal of the beloved community. The beloved community of the 21st century must be based on insurgent intersectionality and radical inclusivity. I said insurgent intersectionality and radical inclusivity. Let me break it down for you. By that I mean, it must be a sacred and safe place where all are welcomed, respected, and protected. Everyone is included and no one is excluded in the beloved community. Like my idol, Martin Luther King, I have a dream of building a beloved community in Longmont, Colorado. I dream of a world that is committed to acknowledging and honoring the lives and struggles and leadership of the most marginalized among us, including but not limited to those who are women, queer, trans, gender nonconforming, formerly and currently incarcerated, poor and working class, disabled and differently abled, undocumented and immigrant. In the beloved go ahead, come on. I feel good. In the beloved community of the 21st century, We must be intentional about amplifying the particular experience of racial, gender, sexual, and state violence against women, queer, trans, gender nonconforming, and intersex folk. A truly beloved community. Because, again, they're going to try to co-opt it. A truly beloved community is committed to combating patriarchy and heteropatriarchy and queerphobia and transphobia just as much as it is to combating police brutality and violence against black people. The beloved community I envision is deeply committed to mental health and wellness, to immigrants' rights, to the abolition of the prison-industrial complex and the abolition of the military-industrial complex. The beloved community is committed to equal access to education and health care. Thank you, Mrs. Inez Buggs. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. The beloved community is committed to equal access to education and health care, to food justice, to animal rights, to the preservation of plant life, and open to honest conversation about climate change and environmental racism and the devastating impact on the poorest and most vulnerable among us. There can be no liberation for any of us if we do not center and fight for those who have been marginalized and exploited. This brings to mind something that Audre Lorde said in one of my favorite books, which is called Sister Outsider. If you haven't read it, please check it out. Sister Outsider by Audre Lorde. She said, "I am not free while any woman is unfree, even when her shackles are very different from my own. And I am not free as long as one racialized and colonized person remains chained, nor is any one of you." Beloved community members are in sincere solidarity with all oppressed, exploited, and racially colonized people who are fighting for their liberation. And indeed, we know that our histories and our destinies are intertwined. We stand in solidarity with our racially colonized family members all over the world who are fighting against the ravages of economic exploitation, environmental injustice, food insecurity, war, and continued colonization. We also stand with undocumented and immigrant people all over the world, but especially here in the United States of America. We recognize and honor the rights and struggle for land, self-determination, and reparations for our Native American and other indigenous extended family members. The beloved community supports the ambitions and work of all progressive people struggling against 21st century forms of imperialism. And it seeks to intervene in the current political climate and assert a clear vision of the democratic world we want to create. We believe that we have to be bridges for those who claim to be our allies and help them evolve into our advocates. We must reject quick fixes and false solutions and solemnly believe that we can bring into being a complete transformation of contemporary society, which sadly consistently places profit over people, greed over need, and make it impossible for most of us to live decent and dignified lives. The beloved community knows that another world is possible. A world. The beloved community knows that another world is possible. A world where Latinx folks, Native Americans, Asian Americans, African Americans, and European Americans finally come together and work together to rescue and reclaim our humanity and bring into being a multiracial, a multicultural, a multilingual, and a multi-religious American democracy. Let us continue. Let us continue Martin Luther King's dream and build the beloved community right here, right now in Longmont, Colorado. Another way and another world is possible, but only if we are willing to work for it, only if we are willing to be like John Lennon, who said, "You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us and the world will be as one." Imagine each and every soul under the sound of my voice solemnly committing to making whatever sacrifices are necessary to bring into being the beloved community. I end as I began with a poem. This is called "Can I Get a Witness?" for Martin Luther King. Can I get a witness? There were cold, dark days in the past, crammed in the cracks and crevices of slave ships named Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. There were long days in the searing heat of the southern sun. We sweated and worked and worked and worked while others looked on in amusement and made fun. We worked behind mules. We worked pulling plows. We worked saddling up horses. We worked shoeing ornery cows. And our ancestors withered and wept when they thought about home and all that was still to come and all that was lost or long gone. Can I get a witness? Somebody save our souls, but please don't promise us no more of that pie in the sky after we die. We have long died many unusual deaths in this land of milk and honey. Indeed, we have died strange deaths in this land of purported opportunity and blood-soaked money. Some way, somehow, our music manages to sonically say what we cannot. Some way, somehow, our music manages to say what we forgot. And I can hear Billie Holiday singing Strange Fruit. Oh! Southern trees bear strange fruit, blood on the leaves and blood at the root. Black bodies swinging in the southern breeze, strange fruit hanging from the poplar trees. Pastoral scene of the gallant South, the bulging eyes and the twisted mouth, scent of magnolia, sweet and fresh. Then the sudden smell of burning flesh. Here is fruit for the crows to pluck, for the rain to gather, for the wind to suck, for the sun to rot, for the trees to drop. Here is a strange and bitter crop. Can I get a witness to a life lived like a lamb and a lion? Bear witness, if you will, to a soul bound for Zion. Many lessons have been learned here in our days of darkness, but as Sam Cooke once sang, trouble don't last always. I'm so glad trouble don't last always. And if you live long enough, you too will experience both happy and sad days. Martin Luther, our king. He was one of Africa's lost sons, sojourning through this concrete jungle called America, this place where birds named Charlie Parker blow hot blues to cold-hearted people, the place where Bessie Smith and Nina Simone sang and moaned, sang again and again and again that we are all equal. It is interesting how art can capture feelings that seem to fall through the cracks of everyday life. It is fascinating how children play together, neither seeing black or white or brown or yellow or red. Truth be told, the dead do not always bury the dead. Sometimes the living must help the dead go on living by remembering. Remember their touch. Remember their laughter. Remember their days of innocence and their days of disaster. Remember their truths. Remember their love. Remember their war. Remember when they were as peaceful as a dove. We all rise and we all fall, and someday we will all have to answer to the Master's call. He was a messenger, and he diligently did his duty, a messenger helping us to remember, to rescue and reclaim our humanity. Can I get a witness to a life lived like a lamb and a lion? Bear witness, if you will, to a soul bound for Zion. God bless you.
Thank you, Dr. Rabaka. As a principal, it's my pleasure to lift up the voices of our younger generation and share with you the many great things that they're providing with our community. I'd like you to take a look on your way out at all of the things that our kids are doing here within the city of Longmont, Greater Boulder Valley, throughout Colorado, and with international governmental organizations. These students in the 12th grade, they've committed themselves to capstone projects that will impact countless people here and throughout the world. Please engage with them, volunteer with them, and walk with them as they walk with us. It's a pleasure at this time that we introduce our poetic voice today. Ethan Simmons is a contemporary creative that is often sought out for collaborations and eager to embrace artistic adventures. As a lifelong athlete, he's a valuable member of local area business ventures and also many volunteer organizations. Having graduated Lawrence University in 2021, he received a degree in psychology and an emphasis in economics. He now enjoys a successful sales career and is expanding his skateboard business called Loud Executive. That's right, still skate. Ethan is a graduate of Legacy High School here in Colorado. Born and raised here in Colorado, he's continued to reinvest into his community here on the Front Range, and he's remained a steadfast leader, supporting others and making a positive impact on his collegiate and professional communities. This dynamic young man has incredible plans for the future, and while we get to hear from him today, we'll continue to hear of his accomplishments and his contributions well now into the future. I'd like you to join me in welcoming Ethan Simmons as our poetic voice.
The opportunity to share this space with you guys today has humbled me. Because at face value, being tasked to prepare a piece to celebrate Dr. King is relatively straightforward. Well-educated, I like to say well-spoken, and with around 23-ish years of black man experience, should have been no problem. But as I began to try to formulate and create and curate something that I feel would bring something of substance to the space, I immediately ran into resistance. Lasted for weeks. In and out of my head, not really sure what the disconnection was when I spent most of my young life believing that I was doing the thing. And the more I got down to it is my notion of hope at its core, it didn't match up with Dr. King's. You see, personally, I believe that hope was what's gonna bring you through the hardship, weather the storm. It's gonna be what you hold on to when things are bad. But that's only a fraction of the picture. Dr. King told us that we must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. And the thing about infinity is it doesn't stop at just looking forward. It doesn't stop at just looking at the outlook. It permeates through generations, it permeates into actions. Because the hope that's at the center of Dr. King's dream is it's an active belief that you will be able to endure the hardship. But it's not going to be because it just stopped. It's not going to be because the world decided to spare you. There's a distinction between what must be endured and what must be conquered. That is what makes the hope at the center of his dream an engine for change. Because a hope that is multidimensional is steadfast. That's the hope that carries people through cultural exploitation, profiling, incarceration, segregation, lynching, enslavement. Hope that birthed the progress to those generational struggles not only supported the belief that there would be an end, but the relentless pursuit of that end. It's still the hope that circumstances will subside before you do, but it's the understanding that you can only make that distinction after you've given everything that you can. Wins and losses are determined at the top end. You cannot decide if you've lost until you've given everything that you have to give. And that is the type of hope that is at the center of King's dream. And the dream, the hope, the momentum, it's all here in this room, intergenerationally. The product of each and every generational struggle being met with the intention to reach the other side. The understanding that the fate of the last struggle will be the fate of the next. That is the type of hope that death can't kill, that we all share, that we've gotten from our previous generations, that no amount of enslavement, lynching, segregation, incarceration, profiling, cultural exploitation, gaslighting, nothing will be enough to stop the movement. And as we persist, we see our overt oppressions diminish. And that is how you know it's becoming increasingly important to continue to fortify hope's hunger for progress and hope for a better future. Because a hope rooted in action does not sigh and decompress at the sight of victory. It does not slow when the resistance eases up. It's confident that the next struggle will be conquered just as the one before that, and the one before that, and the one after that. Because when you lose hope, you're paralyzed. You'll go nowhere. How many people here today got up, went outside, and tried to fly? When you came in, you didn't try to walk through the wall. Because when there is no hope of success, there is no action. When you not believe you can, you won't even start. So now, I ask you to raise your expectations. Raise the stakes. Because there is something on the other side of that inhibition, there's something on the other side of that fear, there's something on the other side of that pain that you have no idea. You can't. You haven't stepped into it. And even though you might not know what it's going to look like to get there, what it's going to feel like, what it's going to look like, who's going to be there with you, who's going to lead you while you try, it must be hope that motivates you to leap. Leap into the situations that make your knees shake on stage. Leap into the situations where you don't know how they're going to end, the conversations you can't predict, the apology you haven't made. Because not doing so and refusing to be hopeful in that outcome of each and every endeavor that you go into, that would be to reject the part of the dream that breeds progress. You must be compelled to fight. You must be compelled to win. Thank you.
I'd like to thank you for the warm welcome you've given all of our speakers today, as well as our final speaker that we have here. I'd like to welcome at this time a member of our Martin Luther King Jr. Boulder County Planning Committee, Aisha Simmons. She's a poet and freelance writer by day. Her career as a therapy blogger, ghostwriter, content manager, and online editor has afforded her the ability to write professionally and also raise her family here. She received her degree in professional writing from DePaul University. Recently, she has also discovered a love of event planning that is blossoming into an exciting new vocation. Aisha is in great demand for her writing skills, and we thank her for joining the Martin Luther King Jr. Committee this year and contributing to the overall success and organization for all of our events. Please welcome Aisha Simmons as she provides a special presentation. In the words of Dr. King, where do we go from here?
Hello, I'm so glad to be here today. This has been a fantastic weekend with lots of faces and new faces and people to meet. And in my head has been, where do we go from here? As we all know, the last 3 years have been harrowing, and we've all learned about each other, for good or for bad, in a million different ways. But this weekend gives me a lot of hope, and that's why we're keeping hope at the center. That's why there's a theme that I hope will take us through the year. So please keep checking back on our social media pages, keep checking in with us, because this day is not this day. We have a lot to do, and I think we have a lot of friends to link arms with to do that. So when I'm thinking about Dr. King, I'm thinking about what I like about him most, and that is that he showed up. He never failed to show up. They counted on him to show up, and he did it, whether he was hurt, whether he was sad, whether he was maligned, whether he was mistreated, whether he was scared. And it's okay to be scared. But we have to show up anyway, even if we're scared of each other. We have to show up and face each other and do the work. So I'm thinking about the word hope. I'm thinking about those balloons over there, because they're to draw your eye, but they're not a frivolous thing. Hope. Let's start with H, and that's healing. And that's something we have to take the time to do. All year long, the past 3 years especially, we've heard about mental health. You have to take the work to do, you have to take the time to do the work inside of you. You have to do the work in your relationships. We have to do the work in our community. So the first thing we're going to do, if you come work with us, is heal. We're not going to skip it. We're not going to pretend that we don't have to do it. And it'll be uncomfortable. And that's all right. Next is O. That's for outreach. Dr. King was all about outreach. He showed up to do that, even when they wanted him out, even when they kicked him out, even when they said, get out and stay out and don't come back, and we might keep you out by any means possible. You and I have to do that work too. Outreach, reach out. We're not going to skip that either. But we're here to do it together. There's a whole legion of children and young adults who are struggling online who need us to pull them out of that, to link arms with them. And I'm so happy to see so many kids here today, because you didn't have to be here. And we're going to reach out to you. P, process, the progress. We want to progress. We want to move forward. But we also have to process that along the way. It is not okay to keep going on a path without stopping to think about how that's affecting us, whether or not it's the right path. Things change. We need to be flexible with each other. We need to say, that doesn't work anymore. It is not 1968. It is not 1963. It is 2023, and we all have to come together in new and exciting and interesting ways. And don't be afraid. That's what King was doing. The old way didn't work. He wasn't afraid to process the progress. He wanted us to be nonviolent, he wanted us to be loving, but he also wanted us to face hard facts. And we can do that together. E, education. If you think you know, you probably don't know. That's okay too. We have to be better about learning. We have to be better about learning about each other and letting the facts stick. We learned that so many of us like to stay in our niche. We like to stay in our thought process. We like to stay with our people. We don't learn much that way. So reach out and hope with us. We're ready to hope with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Aisha. Wow, we're almost there. I'm going to invite everyone to stand. I'm going to invite the choir up. We're going to go ahead and do our final number, which is We Shall Overcome. And I'll tell you a little bit about that. Many of you know that I was there in 1968. And actually at the last march, Dr. King's last deed on earth, the I Am a Man March. You all have seen that. Folks, we were fighting for basic human rights, for decency, for garbage workers. And so our final song is We Shall Overcome. The essence of that was so profound. I remember walking down Beale Street with a Jewish rabbi on one arm from New York and a Catholic priest on the other hand, I should say, not arm, but hand, singing We Shall Overcome someday. There must have been 10,000 people there. And you never hear of that kind of beloved community coming together, Catholics and Jews, but that was Dr. King's prayer. And exactly the next week, he was shot down on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee, my hometown. And we were, Aisha, to your point, wondering, oh my God, what do we do now? But it's up to us. Our theme was the dream, ... Keep hope at the center. Jesse Jackson always says, keep hope alive. We gotta keep hope alive today. And I just wanna thank everyone for coming. I'm gonna invite you to stand. Please lock arms. And in every rally that I attended, right arm over left arm, and swing to the right on first note. We're gonna sing We Shall Overcome. Give us a note. Director Ellen is gonna lead us.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Whoa, deep in my be free. We shall all be free. We shall all be free. We shall all be free someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank all of you for coming. These are my twin grandchildren, London and Lincoln, and Brooklyn is out there, and I am so excited that they are here today to celebrate with us, because this is for them.
I would just like to thank all of you for coming out today. Please stop by all of our booths that we have out here and keep an eye out for all of the events happening throughout Boulder County for Black History Month as we enter into February. Thank you once again for keeping the dream alive and joining us here at Silver Creek.